Shinzo Abe was one of the few leaders of an American allied democratic country that forged a good relationship with President Trump. He was sort of seen almost as a Trump whisperer at a very uncertain time. But it's not just about two leaders. And I think you talked about hedging. It's not just Japan; it's other countries looking at the United States and thinking about its divisions and the movement that brought Trump to power, and wondering how that affects America's long-term thinking, its long-term reliability, and probably feeding some of that hedging. Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think so. And but it's, I think, also important to look at continuity in U.S. foreign policy as well. I mean, I think the technological regulation surrounding, for example, technology will probably continue regardless of what kind of administration you have in the United States. Probably China strategy as well. I think there will be likely to be more focus on the economic negotiations vis-a-vis U.S.-China relations if you have a second Trump presidency rather than the security dimension. But we'll have to see. And one of the areas where we are likely to see a sort of a dramatic change in the shift in the policy with regard to the administration changes related to climate and also Middle East. And here, I think a second Trump presidency might take a rather different stance from the Biden administration. I think in the area of climate, I don't think the Republican Party is as enthusiastic as the Democratic Party in pushing forward all the green initiatives that President Biden has promoted. And in the Middle East, I think the Trump administration could likely be more sort of supportive of Israel while being more hawkish on Iran. And so that could be some sort of, they both engage the Middle East, but the emphasis of where they focus could be different. And so, as a result of this two-party having different outlooks about what issues they should focus on, there are continuities and change. And in some areas of change, I think there will be fluctuations, and not only Japan, but also NATO allies in Europe will have to manage this kind of fluctuation in U.S. foreign policy. And this fluctuation actually undermines, I think, U.S. commitment power. Because, for example, if the Trump administration were to withdraw from the Paris Accords, every time you have a Democratic administration making commitments to the Green Initiative, the other countries will think that, well, if you have a succeeding Republican administration, they will revoke that initiative. And so that kind of erodes U.S. power to credibly commit to a particular foreign policy issue. And so that's probably one of the consequences of having a sort of a politically polarized U.S. society, having two different parties coming up with two different priorities. Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I want to give you both a chance to, give your final prescriptions, final pieces of advice. If you are sitting in Washington or Tokyo as a policymaker, what do you think the top priorities should be looking ahead to strengthen the alliance, make it more effective and more relevant?
I think the primary issue that policymakers need to work on is to do their own homework. I think each country has its own homework in terms of defense or security or cyber or economic security. I think making progress on those issues is definitely one thing they can do, regardless of other countries' domestic political environment. Yeah, I think that the China challenge continues to loom large in defining the security environment of Indo-Pacific. I think as China looks to outside to engage in dialogues with various countries, that I think starts offering sort of challenges and then sort of opportunities for cleavages among allies. So that becomes more important. It makes it more important for allies to talk more and to coordinate policies more as China becomes more open to the outside and becomes more friendly to the outside. I think that will be a challenge going forward, is that when China is being belligerent, it's easy for allies to cooperate. I think when China becomes targeting various countries to open up path and diplomatic avenues, which is important. I think these countries should have dialogue with China, but I think continuing to exchange notes and continue coordinating policies will become important challenge going forward.
I think the first point that Teraoka-san said, I agree. With regard to the strategic documents that were adopted in December 2022, it's implementation, implementation, implementation. So that's going to be the main agenda. This is Japan, yes, yes, and also cooperation with the United States, yeah. But under that umbrella, I would point to maybe 2 or 3 specific initiatives. And one is to sort of realize this new command and control cooperation between architecture for Japan-US defense cooperation. And that has to do with the Japan Joint Operations Center and also this new US forces headquarters that is going to be established under the Indo-Pacific Command. So that's one thing. Second, on the security side, I would point to, this is a new idea that I've been pitching, 2+2+2 for Japan, US, Australia. I think Australia will become increasingly important strategically in enhancing deterrence vis-a-vis China in the Indo-Pacific region. And here I think Japan, United States, and Australia should coordinate not only command and control, but also joint capability development and so forth. So the defense and foreign policy leaders of the 3 countries should come together and issue a joint statement to express that there are multinational balancing efforts being undertaken, to send a message to China that their effort to sort of achieve military dominance in the Western Pacific will be met by multinational balancing. And the 3 countries will probably be at the core of this balancing effort, and to sort of compel China that this is not worth, arms race is not the way to go, and that it's better to engage in arms control negotiation. And I don't think this is going to come anytime soon, but I think it's important that we keep sending that message to China. Yes. Technology cooperation. U.S. makes unilateral decision to regulate what technologies must not be exported to China. And it comes to U.S. allies and tell us not to backfill. I think there should be a joint decision-making process where before making U.S. unilateral decision, they should also involve critical U.S. allies that have critical technology that should not be exported to China or any other country of concern. And there, that kind of sort of joint decision-making regarding technological regulation is something that is probably better serve U.S. interests and also U.S. allies' interests. I'm confident that they will come to a common conclusion, but I think the procedure is very, very important. So I hope that kind of effort will be undertaken also.
So thanks very much for being with me today, and a special thanks to Dr. Teraoka for joining us from New York. It was a really interesting conversation. I know I learned a lot. I hope our audience did too. So thank you for joining us, and goodbye.